recording now. So thank you, welcome. Today I'm going to walk through MEST HigherEd TCSI feature. So obviously TCSI pronounced taxi is a new feature to do the data reporting that will be applicable from 2020. So obviously all the HEMS reporting, especially for fee help students, HEX fee help and HESA related Commonwealth funded students would have to be reporting using the TCSI mechanism. We have been working, Mesh Group have been working on this particular project for the last 8 months. So we have been in participation with the TCSI team, and as the API has been released, we have been able to participate and continue the development process that has gone over many months. So there are some features that comes as per this update. So some of you who may have been reporting your fee help data through the HEPCAT process. So what is going to happen is, obviously TCSI is going to replace. Now it is also applicable for VSL students, vet student loan. That would come, obviously we would have a separate session in relation to that part of our product. So today is more related with higher education. So as you can see on the screen, TCSI journey map that has been provided by HEMS. It obviously provides a sort of journey that every provider has to undertake. So you would have to prepare, and because being a vendor providing solutions to MEST HigherEd, different higher education providers, we have undertaken this part to obviously upgrade our platform and most importantly create a separate module functionality to be able to do this reporting. So the analyzing of system change and software development is ongoing. So we have been able to connect to TCSI and be able to do the data exchange reporting in real time, which is what the TCSI is about. And of course, there are some data packets API yet to be released. But obviously, as they get released, we will be processing that forward. From a provider point of view, you would see that you would already have received an email to register for the PRODA account. So each provider would need to have their PRODA account registered. That would allow you to connect to government systems, B2G. And obviously enable you to push the data from your student management system. So, and also another level that would come across is to make sure the business impact, how you're going to transition into TCSI journey, how you've been reporting so far with all your HEPCAT data, how you're going to do the migrations. So there is a number of activities that the provider have to undertake. So the system updates is something that we take into account. So we've done the analyst system change, complete software development, and obviously the provider would need to make sure the business processes are managed, and that is something that needs to be looked at and prepared. And you do have an option. So the readiness check would allow you to obviously inform the TCSI how you would want to do the reporting. You can then choose to do the blended reporting or complete switch over to TCSI. For the couple of APIs that are yet to be released, TCSI would be providing portals. As you have already, attended those seminars or webinars that have been provided by TCSI team in order to understand how it may impact your businesses accordingly. So now on this particular aspects, I would go to the next part. Now this is an important link for you to look at. So there is a TCSI testing for providers fact sheet that has been released. And of course, that is available on the HIMSS Help website. That will tell you essentially, what you are looking to do. Most importantly, what providers needs to be aware of, migration process and the implementation process. So the fact sheet would provide further information for you to ensure that you are prepared, and when you engage with us, obviously, we can manage that through the project cycle. So now the next slide that I've just brought on the screen is to show you how meshed TCSI integration interfaces. So with TCSI, there are a number of data packets that we would be able to send across. So, PRODA would allow to provide you an access to the government, TCSI reporting mechanism. And of course, you would have to report on your campus's details. You would have to report on your course details, students' details, course admissions details, unit enrollment details, and award details. And obviously, there are a number of data packets that would be involved for you to submit as part of this process. So what we have done is we've built an integration module that is able to connect with the government TCSI reporting, and that interconnects with your meshed platform and enables the data exchange to take in place. And of course, this data exchange, the process that we have undertaken is to enable you to have an interface within your mesh platform to be able to update data, do the reporting, and then receive the information back from TCSI service to ensure all of these informations are then linked between your platform and TCSI mechanisms. So, so this is some of the interface. So I will be showing that in the meshed HigherEd platform. So as you can see, we would be having an area to capture the student information. So there has been a number of changes in relation to the elements. So there are a number of elements that have been retired. There are a number of elements that have been added. So there is a way that you would need to keep track. And of course, if you are doing the blended reporting for now, you would need to make sure that the elements related with HipCat reporting is obviously still there, and as well as TCSI related data elements have to be captured as well. The important bit within here is the new elements that have been introduced from TCSI, process would have to be captured as part of your business process. So you would have to think about, the elements that was not there before, how you're going to capture that element, and then that would potentially impact your business process as well. So that is something that you would need to undertake and make sure that informations are captured. Of course, the JSON generation facility that you've been using at the moment, that is still valid. It would work similar way. The entitlement information that you would capture and view for the students, how much loan they would be able to access, that also sits as well. So there would be elements that would be important that you would need to capture, and the tax file number as well. So all of these mechanisms are available. So that's the student information. Now going to the student course TCSI information. So obviously, there is an introduction of 8R field as opposed to previously, tertiary admissions, C code. So the course information which relate with the basis of admissions code, mode of attendance, attendance type, student status code. So these all elements are also important to capture for each student in assessing free help. There is a disability activity. One of the elements that you would identify, and that's something that we would bring along, is a lot of these activities would have dates associated. So, for example, even your program courses that you are offering would have to have a commencement date. Campus would have a commencement date. So a number of these elements would have the start date to be captured in order to ensure that you are able to report for TCSI. So those elements that we will be providing you, obviously with the TCSI interfacing module. Now, the reporting interface, you can see in here, obviously the reporting mechanism happens through an API that the TCSI provides, TCSI provides within the API mechanism. So what you are able to do is pull data across from your student management platform, and then review the data, and then you would be able to push that data as per your reporting scenarios. So we're still, at this stage, giving the providers the control to review the data, make sure that the data is valid, and obviously the system through the TCSI API is going to check if there are any issues with the data. So you are still in control in order to what you would be pushing it across. So we have created an interface that would provide you obviously a mechanism to pull out the data packets, and each of these data packets for the reporting period that you would be able to push that across. So you can see here the system for every record that is pushed across is going to generate a unique correlation ID, and that is how the system is going to then look at later on. So for example, if you are pushing the course of study and the TCSI returns a correlation ID, that correlation ID now needs to be linked to your student management course program information, so that when you report later any student's course admissions for that particular course, it is going to use that information to verify if the data is accurate. So a lot of data integrity aspects is something that has been probably would reduce that complexity, and TCSI is going to make sure that the data reporting is much more improved. So again, continuing, so these are the data packets that has been released so far. So there are a couple of packets that is still in progress, that the timeline is somewhere around March that we have been told, but can be obviously released. start of December is when TCSI have indicated, obviously the providers can register and access the live environment. Obviously, you could get in touch with TCSI service team to ensure how that information, when it would be ready, and you can start planning ahead in relation to how you would want to have that built within your platform. So these are the list of TCSI data packets that has been obviously that's what we have been working on. And also you have an option. So what to avoid again, one of the mechanisms that TCSI provides is an ability to update the data. If you have done any incorrect data reporting, remove the data as well. So there are a number of options available. Now you would have something like this in your interface as a processed and not processed. So if for some reason some of the data elements changes within your student management platform, within your mesh platform, then it is going to automatically put them into not processed. So you would have to update that again. So it kind of gives you a clear view of what data may need to be reported again and what data has already been reported. So that is going to separate them accordingly. So you would have that mechanism in place. And of course, you can view that depending upon the list of courses that you have, programs within the platform, what has been reported, what has to be reported, something like this would come, and then you can either select all and process as a bulk, or you can do it individually. So that is something that you would have in control about the reporting process. So another example, obviously for the student, again, it will have a data sync if we are pushing the student's data across. Again, the student's unique identifier that is being recorded within student management is something within TCSI student list would then be linked back to your mesh platform to enable that linking across. Okay, so what I'm going to show you now is how it has, how it sits within the platform. So I'm going to pull out Mesh HE platform, the demonstration platform. So what obviously there is as I was showing you before, from a student point of view, we have you go to a particular student, and then students you would be able to go to profile. And this is where you would see the TCSI HIP icon, which obviously would allow you to capture the student's TCSI information, relevant information. So again, your citizenship code, the options. Now again, the elements are some of the elements values have even changed as well. So that is something you would need to also consider in your transition process, how you may have captured the data now and how you're going to capture the data in future. So, so again, Commonwealth Scholarship type code, so you've got that information, attended left schools and other informations, attended previous higher education provider. So all of these informations are available onto the student information section, and you can update at any given time. So the JSON functionality is there. If the students have, based on your HEMS login, you can push JSON information. Now, from a student course point of view, there are a number of information that you will have to capture. So basis of admissions per course, attendance type, and then the ATAR, any particular, again, selection rank. So these are new elements that the TCSI have introduced. If there's a higher degree research indication, some additional informations regarding stipends, scholarships, and others, so that would have to be captured. So again, the data packets for this interface has been updated, changed in order to map with TCSI information. and that comes along. So with the disability information from date to date is something that the data packet requires. So as I was mentioning before, with your platforms within MEST, for example, even if we are looking at campus venues, now we would have to provide the venue effective from date, venue effective to date, so that these informations will be used in order to identify the campus operations, how it links back with the courses, and how the reporting would work. So similar goes with programs. So when you set up the programs, you would be able to see there is a course effective from date. So that's again information that will be pre-populated, pushed through, and depending upon the data, then the mechanisms will be checked. From a student's point of view, any particular student that you have, after you enter the TCSI information, their relevant, enrollment into unit of, study subjects. So there are a number of elements that you would have to update within the platform in order to capture their, individual unit enrollment information. Obviously would allow you to again update that information within MEST, and that would be used for reporting purposes. So you've got that facility that you would be able to set them up, update. So again, we've maintained the business process principle of how you use MESH. So obviously MESH would follow the standard business process about capturing the student applications and so on, but then there is an additional group of elements that will be captured, as well as as they get enrolled into the programs that would be units, then that would be updated as per their engagement with the provider. So what happens is when you are ready to do the reporting, so you can go to TCSI section within the interface. So again, this is what we have done at this stage to give you an indication. So you will be able to see that there is a process where we can, you can see the list of courses that has been sent. You can see the informations that the data packets, how it is sent back to TCSI, in what format, and then obviously if there is any push data would be required, then you push that the record and it automatically generates. So what it is doing right now is pushing the data across to TCSI and then bringing back the correlation ID, the next available unique ID that the TCSI would present. So that's for the course of study. And then that comes to course. So again, each program in your higher education, we would be setting them up, within the platform. So again, each course of study, their higher education information, you would fill out all of these information to ensure the data is available for push. And then, of course, then you have this program that you would like to push. Again, similar process, it goes and finds the next available. It will give some message. If there is an error message that the TCSI pushes through to MESH, the error message will be shown in here. So sometimes, especially for unit enrollment census dates, for the unit of study, some sort of discipline code and other error messages may also be available. So for the campus data, again, you would have each campuses that you would have, you would need to push that data across, and as it is updated, so it will provide that information. If any data is missing, then it will again provide the error messages accordingly. So that's the three packet. Course on campus provides you obviously what are the courses that is being offered in what campuses. Again, depending upon your program set up within the platform, you would be able to do that, and then you can obviously push that across to TCSI as well. So again, that's a record. Then comes to students packet. Obviously, depending upon the students that they are, information that has been entered within the system. It will only pick up those students that has a TCSI element information recorded, and then you can push that information across to student as well. So there will be some of these messages currently coming. So again, these are coming from TCSI, and some of these messages, error messages, has been, obviously as they get updated, the interfacing will be updated to cover that scenarios as well. But if there is any errors, it is going to provide you that information. So that's from a student's point of view. And course admissions, so again, that particular students we have now pushed. So there is a certain dependency on the data, so you cannot push the course admissions before you push the students. You cannot push the unit enrollment before you have the course admissions, and that sort of information is an important rules to follow. So again, pushing the course admissions data, so you can see again that information has been pushed across, and then that information comes. And of course, the final one is unit enrollments to capture. And now sometimes what happens is if you've got this data and you're trying to push the unit enrollments, and then it may say there's an error. So it might say discipline code is not a valid code. Then these are errors that TCSI would stop you from reporting, and you would have to go and amend and correct this data. So they want more clean data, more specific data that would be. And of course, it will also provide some warning messages that the amounts may not be right. So that's something that will be, if they are successful, obviously it will provide the information, but they may also still say that information may not be valid. So as you have seen today, the interfacing, everything happens through an API, through your Prodi account and B2G, access. You would have to pull the data across. The reporting cycle, how HepCat has a reporting specific, TCSI obviously is looking to do the reporting more frequently, much earlier, and then in order to manage that process, effectively, and to have the real data as early as possible. So, as the list of data packets that I've shown you, again, that's what we would be able to, you would be able to push that across. But again, there are some TCSI resource links in HIMSS help site. We would recommend you to start looking into it and be prepared much earlier, and so that you would have enough time for testing. So one of the things that I mentioned is the testing process. So there is going to be a migration involved for the data that you might have reported. If that is the case, then obviously you would have to plan on that, have the process, and we can assist on that as a project, to support on that particular aspects. But it is something that you would need to manage it. Now, for the providers that are going to report the PIR, reporting providers, so obviously there's already a consultation paper that is being worked on, and that is also, in process to report the PIR data through TCSI. So the consultation paper, as you can see from the link from TEXA, came on 29th of July. So that is being obviously revision, so you can download these documents, and it also provides the data schematic, which will provide what were the data that the packets were there, and then what is the new packets is going to be. So that's something that would be applicable for PIR providers. So please, review that, talk to TCSI team, get your Prodi account registered. And then, as a next step, we would, as I said, we would encourage providers that are looking to transition to TCSI to register for Prodi account. You've already received the email, and we're ready to contact our support team to discuss the options and process, how you would like the project to be managed, handled, and then we would be able to assist you accordingly. So that's it from me today. So thank you so much for your time, so attending. As I mentioned, we will send a recording of this to all of you. And if you have any questions, we'll be happy to assist you. Please feel free to send an email to support@messengergroup.com.au, and we will attend to that. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great day.